what would I do against the tyrant police? So when it comes down to stops, a cop can stop you for nothing and make up by the time they get from their vehicle to your vehicle. They can make up whatever reason. Oh, I didn't see that tire pressure's low up there. That's my probable cause for stopping you, right? Or I didn't see the seatbelt. Oh, your seatbelt's frayed by the time I saw it. That's why I pulled you over. You can't prove. To date, there is no requirement, to my knowledge, that where a cop has to sit there and type in their computer or activate their audio in their car and say, this is Officer so-and-so. It's, July 9th, 2024 at 12:49, 100 hours. And I'm stopping this blue vehicle in front of me with the license plate GS281 for failure to wear seatbelt. Then initiate the stop. Then you can't do that, right? Sometimes you got to flip the lights on, turn them off. So how do you know as a driver that I just pulled you over for a lawful reason? We give the police carte blanche. We give them so much benefit of the doubt that they pulled over subjects lawfully, and then we tell the people on the stops, comply, fight it in court. Well, we know that no lawyer's gonna take a civil rights violation. It's gonna be time exhausting, all this shit. So when it comes down to it, the crossroads we're at is people think that they have the right to refuse giving over a driver's license and insurance on a stop until they're told what the lawful reason for is. But then how do we know that the reason was lawful from the beginning? So that's the relationship I can't stand.
So it's a great conversation. It's one that this is where we need 2-3 hours, because this is what I'm passionate about. And we obviously are on the opposite ends of this, and that's okay, because there's nothing wrong with that. I think you have a perspective that you've been on the other side and I've been on one side, right? I haven't done a traffic stop ever in my life. So I don't know what that feels like. What I can say is I think it's fairly easy to say, okay, it's not the place to debate the situation. And really, truly, it isn't. That is not when you want to argue your case. And I've learned in the times that I've been pulled over that simply giving my license and registration, listening to the officer's opinion, asking some qualifying questions by asking, hey, do you mind if I ask a couple questions, usually results in a sure, go ahead. And then I ask, and then I get my court date, and then I decide whether I want to show up and fight it. And every time I've shown up in court and fought it, I've won. But I also think that there are over 100 million interactions annually in the United States. It's an astronomical number. And that's from just talking to a cop or talking to a parking, whatever, or 911, or getting pulled over, or filing a police report, or whatever it would be, or an investigation. There are millions upon millions of interactions and nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And I would say 99, I don't know the number, but it is an ungodly statistic that there is an infinitesimal amount of those interactions that are violations of people's constitutional rights.
One is too many. One is way too
many. I understand that. I get that, but that's like the abortion argument, right? So GOP is like, no abortion. And you're like, well, wait a second. What about life of mother? What about rape? What about this? Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, wait a second. That's perspective. So you got to add perspective to those arguments,
I'm going
right?
By the Constitution. So far, is abortion protected by the Constitution?
No, but the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is, and I completely understand. But what I'm saying is that it's not as black and white as we make it out to be. Because, for instance, First Amendment, if we wanted to stick to the letter of the law, there is no clause in the First Amendment that says shall not be infringed. In fact, the printing press would be covered, and telegraphs and fucking computers and the internet isn't covered. You have to, when people say it's a living document, it's not, but there is a presumption of that it is a growing and living document for the times, and there needs to be regulation to pull back if something is created that ultimately was not the intent. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is guaranteed to everybody, and I'm pro-life. But what I'm saying is that there are exceptions in abortion. There are, for me.
There are no exceptions when it comes down to violating somebody's civil rights with the police. There's none. I'm just trying to find There can't, we still don't hold the higher standard. I can't. I just did this the other day. I can't remember where this is. Oh, in Vermont, state trooper in Vermont just was allowed to retire. He stopped a guy for what he thought was the middle finger, and then goes back to a squad car and says, "I'm going to write him for disorderly conduct." He's a sergeant, and the guy fights it, and the sergeant was allowed to retire. Right? If he will, then this happens all the time. It's not an infinitesimal amount. Hang on. It's not an infinitesimal amount. If you have police, and I've acknowledged I have pulled people over for screaming and this and that, and I stop them and go, "Hey, are you okay?" "Yes, I am." Did you need me for something?" "No, I don't." That's as far as I could take the stop. This guy clearly knew what he was doing. He's caught on audio saying, "I'm going to arrest him for disorderly conduct for giving me the finger." He's command staff. He knows this. And not only is he allowed to retire with his pension, but he can go to another department. It happens all the time. Do you disagree or agree that he should be criminally prosecuted for violating somebody's First Amendment rights?
Okay. So there's too much to know about. And basically on what I saw, there's two questions I have. One is, why did you retire that person? And why was that decision made? Which is something that I would ask, whether it's the unions that are standing in or whether it's some sort of union rep who comes in and negotiates a sweet deal, or if this person had an exemplary record and then did this. All questions I want answered. But the first question I have is, why the fuck did the guy flip him off? It doesn't matter that it's constitutional. No, because it does fucking matter. Because it does matter. Why are you flipping off a cop? Why? Because I can. Okay, well, fuck you. I can do a lot of things. I can go into a neighborhood with a 6'7" black guy and I can call him an N-word. And when I get fucking killed, that's Kramer. My fault because I was stupid.
Rex Kramer, danger seeker.
Right. So why'd you flip him off? Because I can. Okay, well, you're a fucking idiot. Anything else posthumous from this conversation is you're just an idiot.
Okay, so again,
because you're asking for trouble.
You are fine with somebody flipping off a cop and the cop arresting him for disorderly conduct.
No, I'm not. That's a false equivalency. Well, I'm not okay with that. I just specifically said I don't know the circumstances of why. What I said was, why are you flipping off a person to begin with? Because I want to uncover that reason first, because that's what set this off. Is it fair to say that if you wouldn't have flipped this person off, that none of this would have happened? And the answer, most assuredly, is more than likely.
Is that how the courts deemed that it was guilty, and the department, the state troop, they had to pay $175,000. So should the courts have said, well, Mr. Smith, why did you flip off the police officers in the first place?
They asked that question. I guarantee they asked it. I guarantee that question was asked. And that's why I said I want to know the answer to it, right?
Okay.
I want to know what he had to say.
He says, I hate cops. I hate all fucking cops.
Okay.
Now what?
Okay. Now we have established that this guy has animus towards another person. So now we can uncover why he did it. And he did it because he was trying to make a cop fucking hit him, just like suicide by cop. So that was his intent. That has something to do with the conversation, right? It doesn't necessarily make him innocent of everything. It doesn't make him guilty of everything. But what it does is that there are people who try to entrap officers, and there are people out there doing First Amendment audits who are trying to garner some sort of physical altercation with police so they can get it on camera and have a payday. I don't agree with that either, man. Am I saying that there's not injustice in the world? No, of course there is. Am I saying that every cop is good? No, but not every citizen is fucking virtuous.
Do you see how this argument can also be applied to the whole, you got raped? Well, what were you wearing? That's the same dangerous concept of the path you're going when you do this.
I think it's very different when somebody goes ahead and says, I was raped because what I was wearing, versus I verbally went into a cop's wheelhouse and tried to antagonize an officer into doing something stupid. I think that's very different than rape.
This goes back to my definition of bootlicking, right? The problem is, if you have a cop who cannot control himself and who is a command staff. They've taken the tests. They've been on the job for 20 years, and they do not know what their power is within the Constitution. You could do whatever you want. You could obey the law, speed, be very polite. They're the same type of cops who will rip you out of the car because you looked at them the wrong way. This is where I go with bootlicking. No. It doesn't matter if this guy wanted to piss on this cop's family. He hated all police. It does not matter anything what he was doing. as far as free speech goes. If he was speeding or driving erratically to get pulled over, one story. But if he just sticks an arm out the window and the cop follows through, no, that cop should 100% be criminally prosecuted federally for violating somebody's civil rights. There's no question. That's it.
Okay.
It is a very black and white issue.